So now I'm going to show you guys how to add HotFix crystals to your design. So first you want to make sure you have down your heat resistant sheet, and I use this for all of my heat related designs, and especially when I'm working with mesh, because what happens is when you're using the HotFix, it will glue straight down onto whatever is there, and you don't want to burn your mat or anything else that you're working on. So I definitely recommend getting a couple of these. I got mine from Amazon, and like I said, they're inexpensive, and they're just one of those additional tools to help you when you're doing your designing. So before we actually begin to apply our crystals to our fabric, I just wanted to go over a couple of things. One, when you're working with HotFix crystals, you'll know because they have this colored adhesive to them, and it's usually like a rose gold sort of flesh tone color to it. And it's the only thing that will work with the heating method. If it's just this plain silver, that usually means it's not HotFix and you have to use another method, and that's often just like glue, the normal glue application. As a personal preference, I prefer the HotFix versus this, only because it just goes on cleaner, it's easier, it's quicker, you don't have to worry about glue residue. But if that's not possible, I definitely recommend going with the E60 glue. It's a clear glue, it has a little bit of fumes to it, but it's the only thing that I've noticed in the past working with crystals and applying them that will actually stay. Sometimes when the garment starts to stretch and pull, these pop off if they're not put on appropriately with the right adhesive. I found that once I used the glue, or rather the HotFix, I didn't have those same issues about the beads coming off as frequently as when I just used normal glue. So I definitely recommend just investing in a HotFix gun, but just also knowing that you also have to have the corresponding HotFix crystals, or it's not going to work. You can also use an iron, but just know that when you're using the iron, you have to already align them and then press the iron on top. With the HotFix, you can do them individually, which is just another plus for me why I use the HotFix gun. I just kind of wanted to briefly go over the different types of crystals. In my hand right now, I have a craft crystal and I have a regular crystal. This is a Swarovski crystal and this is a craft crystal. The difference being, as you can see, the way the light is hitting this one versus the way the light is hitting this one. This one is going to look more expensive and more luxurious on a garment. And this one is actually going to cheapen the garment a little bit because it's not really for garments, it's more for crafts. You can put them on a cute little craft that you're doing, but if we're talking about gowns and really intricate pieces, you want to go with these Swarovski crystals because the clarity is better and it just looks more expensive. The difference obviously being in the price and the quantity. I was able to get a whole bunch of these for about 10 bucks. Just about 20 of these or 100 of these cost about the same thing. So if you can understand that, yes, there's a difference, but if you're trying to elevate the garment, you want to use the Swarovski crystals. If you can't splurge on full Swarovski crystals, you can use a combination of the two. I just recommend using smaller of these. If you're going to combine the two in a garment, just make sure these are smaller so it's not as obvious that they're the cheaper version. So that's just kind of like a pet peeve of mine when I see really well-made garments and they're really pretty and then they put like those crystals on. I'm like, no. So basically I have my fabric laid out and I have my crystals. These are AB Swarovski crystals, so that's why you noticed a bit of a yellowish tint to it. That's because they're called AB crystals. So crystals do come in different colors, different hues, and different tints. This is what I had floating around my office, so I thought I'd use those. So where can we put these? We can pretty much put them anywhere. For example, if I just wanted to add them to the very outer layers of this, I just sort of place them there. And with my HotFix application gun very well heated up, because it has to be nice and hot, and also making sure that the sizes are pretty much consistent with each other. For example, you don't want a tiny head for your application gun and then you have a huge bead, because it's not going to apply properly. So you want to make sure they match up. They have different grooves. I just like to stay with the flat head because I don't have to worry about constantly changing them. For example, if I'm using different bead sizes for a garment, I don't want to have to constantly go back and forth, wait for it to cool off, and change the top of it. So what you do is you just make sure it's nice and flat, and you press it down. Give it a few seconds to make sure that the glue is fusing to the fabric. Again, this happens a little bit quicker when you're using mesh, because it's less layers to go through, whereas if I was using a satin or something, it would take a little bit more effort. So there it is. It's on there. The only other downside is when you're working with them, you see those? You're gonna see those, but that's not as bad, especially, I mean, if the person is wearing it, only they would see it. It's not as bad to me as glue. Like having just glue all over the place, having to white glue, having to, everybody has their own preference as to what they like to use. For me, HotFix is the way. So this is what you have. And like I said, I would definitely use this as like a starting point for a very elaborate design. I don't know if I would just stay with just a simple design. I would definitely probably add some more color, some more texture. But if you're just starting out and you just want to slowly start to develop your beading techniques, this is the way to go. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Videos are uploaded weekly covering dressmaking, fashion, lectures, and more.